It is 5:12, and duck hunting is a tradition woven into the very fabric of our state's culture. And for many, it's more than just a sport, it's a way of life.
Amen to that. With the new season set to open this Saturday, there is some concern over how promising it's going to look for hunters. Changes to the weather and climate are having noticeable effects each passing year. Here's meteorologist Scott Covert.
People talk about duck hunting culture in a lot of different places of the country and in the world, but I would challenge any place to match the culture of duck hunting in Arkansas.
Situated along the Mississippi Flyway, the natural state is a bed and breakfast of sorts for wintering waterfowl, offering the perfect combination of food and habitat. As ideal as it may be,
I would say over the last 5 or 6 years, what I've seen more than anything else is that the number of birds that are available to shoot in Biomeda has dramatically decreased.
Meet Matt Mosler, a former TV meteorologist turned pastor and an avid duck hunter. He runs Crosshairs Retreat Center in Arkansas County, a duck lodge used for ministry. Mosler's sentiment shared by many in duck blinds around the state, but the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission sees it differently. Luke Naylor, a waterfowl biologist at AGFC, acknowledges, sure, recent seasons have been tough, but he's quick to point out that duck harvest estimates have been steady since the 1980s.
The good news is that Arkansas continues to lead the nation in duck harvest. It's in the top 5 in seasonal duck harvest per hunter.
Still, for duck hunters like Mosler, the math doesn't add up.
And I think it was Mark Twain who said there are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics. I have no other evidence other than anecdotal evidence, and that is that when I go out to duck hunt, whether it's in Biomeda, whether it's in one of the rice fields around the Grand Prairie, we don't have the numbers we used to.
While sentiment for years past is low, now on the dawn of a new season, anticipation is high among hunters. And according to Dr. Steve Adair, this year's season hinges largely on just that, a series of highs and lows. Pressure, that is.
Look north of you and look for snow cover. You know, when you get snowstorm and below freezing temperatures where that water can start to freeze, then that's going to force birds to move.
But to make Arkansas a desired destination,
you need water here. A lot of Arkansas duck populations, we've shown through some research, duck populations in Arkansas are really driven by extensive surface water flooding in the Delta.
while hunters will of course keep their eyes to the sky in anticipation of cold fronts and Arctic air that promote that southern migration, perhaps the truest indicator of the season to come isn't here in Arkansas at all. Rather, it's what's going on several thousands of miles away. It's the weather and the climate in the Canadian prairie pothole region of the upper Midwest.
The entire prairie pothole region in the U.S. and Canada is dry. And what that means for waterfowl is that they will have a much reduced breeding effort. So we'll find that the birds are older, they're more experienced, they may not decoy as well.
Discouraging signs of the season to come.
Given current conditions, I wouldn't say the outlook is great for this season, actually. We have very poor production from the breeding grounds this year, it looks like.
That won't stop hunters from practicing the same patience they know all too well. Wading through frigid waters and enduring the disappointment of lackluster hunts, all in hopes that the future is as bright as winter sunrises in the Delta so often are. But the science suggests even more patience will be needed over the coming years.
The Canadian side still looks really dry and probably a pretty low chance of a frost seal there. So that means that likely next spring is going to stack up for another pretty dry year.
It takes some pretty significant precipitation events to recharge that soil and begin to hold water again.
Mosler, Naylor, and Adair, all three experts who approach the same issue with their own experience and expertise. And they agree that some of what we're seeing is a result of long-term impacts we're seeing on the weather.
The temperature's staying so warm up in the northern plains that they don't have any need to come down to Arkansas. And when they do come down, finally duck season's over.
Long-term changes in the climate, I mean, that's going to have an impact.
Our winter temperatures are getting warmer, and there's a pretty strong record for that.
And if we don't take care of what we've been given, not only do we lose out on a great deal of income, not only do we rob ourselves of a great deal of heritage, but we rob ourselves of an identity that few other states would be lucky enough to have.
Arkansas, for now, remains the duck capital of the world.
Sitting here mesmerized by that footage that you all got, Scott. I mean, gosh, Arkansas is so beautiful.
It really is, and you talk about an identity. This is one that's engraved into the very fabric of our state's culture. Duck hunting, it's something I grew up doing. Most people have grown up doing it. If they didn't, they know it's just a really big part of our state's identity, whether it's duck hunters from here or from around the world that literally flock here to hunt. It's been a disappointing last few seasons, and hunters are upset. Generally speaking, no one disputes that, and they're hopeful for a better season. But when you look at current conditions, the true science, the weather, and the climate of what's happening up in the breeding grounds, it's not looking good for not only this year, but what we're seeing is one of those effects that could have long-term impacts. So a lot of patience needed over the next few years.
It's not just a hobby, too. I mean, this is huge for our economy. I mean, a lot of people spending a lot of money here because of duck season.
You nailed it. From the local tour guides who just do it on the weekend to make some extra cash, to the hotel industry, the restaurant industry. It's huge. It can't be understated, the economic impact. Not just duck hunting, but certainly duck hunting, but all of hunting outdoors this time of year.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and oh, that footage, I just can't get over it. I was like, I'm not outdoorsy. That makes me want to be outdoorsy.